Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Bombshell in the New York Times yesterday, late last night. It's called From the Start. Trump has muddied a clear message. Putin interfered. And this actually recounts what James Comey was relaying there to George Stephanopoulos, and that was that the intelligence community, it was James Clapper, it was John Brennan, it was, what's his name, Mike Rogers from cybersecurity from the NSA, that they were all in there on January 6th, and they were briefing the president and showing the president-elect, showing Donald Trump the evidence, the actual hard evidence. Now, the evidence that Trump was shown back then before he was sworn in as president included texts and emails from Russian military officers, information gotten from a human intelligence source, a top secret source close to Putin, who described to our CIA how the Kremlin not only decided to, but how they executed the campaign of hacking and disinformation, and how they were that they were going to release it through WikiLeaks, which means Julian Assange is a world heavyweight champion liar, because Assange says he didn't, get it from Russia, and that's just not true anymore. They told him everything. They showed him everything that they had. They gave him, the stolen emails from the DNC. That had been seen in the Russian military intelligence networks by British intelligence, Dutch intelligence, American intelligence. That is why the investigation began. Had nothing to do with the Steele dossier. Unfortunately, Comey also had to brief Trump after the intelligence community briefed him about the contents of the Steele dossier so that he would know. But they presented him with everything. Officers of the Russian intelligence agency, formerly known as the GRU, had plotted with groups like WikiLeaks on how to release the email. And you know what's interesting is Trump Jr. was direct messaging with WikiLeaks. Isn't that interesting, everybody? Isn't that something? So like this whole story is becoming very understandable. So Brennan said in this New York Times article, this is really amazing. Brennan said that there were ultimately several human sources close to Putin that confirmed that this was going on in Russia. He said one source was particularly valuable to the United States, and it was considered so sensitive that John Brennan just declined to refer to it in any way in the presidential daily brief during the final months of the Obama administration. He didn't tell anybody, especially not Donald Trump and not even Obama, who this Russian human source was. And instead, he decided that he would keep that information from leaking. He sent reports from the source itself to Obama and a top group of national security aides in a separate white envelope to ensure its security. And they didn't share it with Donald Trump. So, this is just so interesting that Comey was telling the truth all along. Of course, we knew that, but that the president has totally known about this since before the day he was president. It's like, what did he know and when did he know it? He knew everything, and he knew it from before he was president. There's your answers. I mean, that wasn't so hard, was it? They literally sat there and they gave Donald Trump hard evidence of Putin's direct involvement in the election several weeks before he was inaugurated. And of course, Donald Trump knew this because he won. And we all knew something was up because he freaking won. But they showed him hard evidence. They showed him proof. They showed him Dutch intelligence. They showed him British intelligence. They showed him American intelligence. They showed him everything. They even said to him that one of the sources was a human source very close to Putin. Now, one of those sources was kept away from him. But, I wonder if Trump knows the identity of that source. Because if he does, that's probably what they talked about in their 2-hour meeting. That, and of course, making Bill Browder available, which Trump cannot do. This is sick. This is really twisted. You know, that little segment where Trump is, Putin offers to allow Bob Mueller into Russia to question the 12 military officers that he's just indicted. He'll let Mueller come into Russia and he could sit with his military officers who'll lie to his face and we have no ability to follow up or swear them in. The oath means nothing. You know, how would you prosecute somebody in Russia for lying under oath to the FBI in America? I mean, it's just such a stupid idea. But Trump was like, I thought it was a fabulous idea. I think it's a great idea. And Sarah Sanders yesterday said, well, we haven't made a decision yet. We'll get back to you. But we are thinking about giving up our ambassador, Michael McFaul, who's he's a professor now at Stanford. He was our ambassador to Russia. She's like, we're thinking about it. We'll get back to you.
Sarah, Russian authorities yesterday named several Americans who they want to question who they claim were involved in Bill Browder's quote-unquote crimes in their terms, including a former ambassador to Russia, Michael McFaul. Does President Trump support that idea? Is he open to having U.S. officials questioned by Russia?
The president's going to meet with his team, and we'll let you know when we have an announcement on that.
We'll let you know.
For a second, is that a topic that came up in their conversation? Did President Putin raise this with President Trump?
There was some conversation about it, but there wasn't a commitment made on behalf of the United States, and the president will work with his team, and we'll let you know if there's an announcement on that front. Blake?
I want to follow up on Maggie's question.
Yeah.
She asked about the idea that Putin offered of essentially allowing Robert Mueller and his investigators to go to Russia to oversee or witness the interrogations of the Russian military intelligence officers if the U.S. would reciprocate and have Russian investigators come here to watch American citizens face questions about the crimes that they allegedly committed in Russia. The president called it an interesting idea. He said it was an incredible offer. Why would he say that?
He said it was an interesting idea. He didn't commit to anything. He wants to work with his team and determine if there's any validity that would be helpful to the process. But again, we've committed to nothing, and it was an idea that they threw out.
And the president said it was an incredible idea. I mean, and so now what you have is the Daily Beast has a great article. It's in the homework today, but it's just an amazing article where Sam Stein and other reporters went about calling our diplomatic corps, talking to former and current American diplomats, and to a person, to a man. These people were they were so horrified by the president saying that it was an incredibly good idea to turn over our former ambassador to Russia, and how he thinks he has any control over Bill Browder, who's a citizen of Britain and has been for 30 years, is just unbelievable. I have to play you something. Bill Browder talked to Preet Bharara and laid out the whole Bill Browder story. And this particular time that Bill Browder laid out the story, I think he did the best job of laying out the story as I've ever heard. So I'm going to play you that. But these diplomats, they were expressing. Let me quote some of them. One serving diplomat who spoke on condition of anonymity said, "I'm at a fucking loss over these comments. This is going to chill American diplomacy in hostile and authoritarian countries." Someone else, I'm at a fucking loss. Diplomats are very diplomatic. They don't say those things lightly, okay? Their whole thing is diplomacy. Quote, "It's beyond disgraceful. It's fundamentally ignorant with regard to how we conduct diplomacy or what it means. It really puts in jeopardy the professional independence of diplomats anywhere in the world. If the consequence of their actions is going to be potentially turned over to a foreign government." And then, I swear to God, it was so creepy. I told you that Putin singled out Bill Browder. I mean, this was the sickest thing I'd ever heard come out of anybody's mouth, was to turn over, a citizen of another country to the freaking Russians. I mean, when he singled out Bill Browder, First of all, he lied. He said Bill Browder had given $400 million to Hillary Clinton's campaign. Did I mention that Bill Browder is not an American? Okay. Therefore, because Bill Browder is not an American, if Bill Browder, as a British citizen, gave $400 million to Hillary Clinton, the lights would be blinking red. Dan Coates would know. Okay, everybody would know. Because you can't do that. That would be illegal. And it didn't happen. It didn't happen. But standing next to Vladimir Putin, the U.S. president stood there and allowed Vlad the Thug to accuse Bill Browder of...
For instance, we can bring up the Mr. Browder in this particular case. Business associates of Mr. Browder have earned over $1.5 billion in Russia. They never paid any taxes, neither in Russia nor in the United States.
That's not true.
And yet the money escaped the country. They were transferred to the United States. They sent huge amount of money, $400 million, as a contribution to the campaign of Hillary Clinton. Well, that's their personal case. It might have been legal, the contribution itself, but the way the money was earned was illegal. So we have a solid reason to believe that some intelligence officers accompanied and guided these transactions. So we have an interest of questioning them. But we can that could be a first step, and we can also extend it. Options abound, and they all can be found in an appropriate legal framework.
And did you direct any of your officials to help him do that?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Because he talked about bringing the U.S.-Russia relationship back to normal.
I don't know what that edit is, but the question is missing. Did you... that had to do with Hillary at the end there, but it's a weird mash. But the President of the United States stood there while Vladimir Putin accused a British citizen of giving $400 million to Hillary Clinton, never paying taxes in Russia. You know, the story is exactly the opposite. Not only did Bill Browder pay $230 million in taxes, but Vladimir Putin stole that $230 million. And then Putin needed to launder it. And guess how he did it? He did it through a company called Prevezon that bought New York real estate. Oh, my God. See, the truth is very simple to say. It doesn't take very long to say the truth. And Vladimir Putin literally stole from his own treasury, stole the tax money that Bill Browder paid. I mean, this is really sick. This is really... and the president... Oh, it's a great idea, an incredible idea. Yeah, let's do that. Let's turn them over. Go to RandiRhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.